Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast.
So welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast, Natalia. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Making the journey all the way down from Aberdeen, so appreciate that. People coming from all over the country down to our studio in Wishaw.
This is going to be an energy-packed one. Natalia's going to go off on all her stories and all her wisdoms, because you do a shitload. Like this is a woman that has an accountancy firm, a bookkeeping company, SA properties, buy-to-let properties, and you're a full-time mum on top of that, 2 kids. So I know you're going to share, you don't think you're going to share wisdom, but I know you're going to share a cracking story and a wisdom. So a little bit of introduction to the listeners then, where were you born and raised? Where did you end up?
And gosh, that's a story in itself. So I got in Abu Dhabi, and my mum is Polish, my dad is English, but I grew up in Aberdeen. That's my hometown. But
you born in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah.
Were you?
Wow. My dad worked in oil, and Aberdeen is,
right,
the oil capital of Europe. Everybody there is connected to oil in some way.
Yeah.
And
it's such a city that if you don't work in the oil and gas industry, you're a scumbag. You're like a second-class citizen.
What?
What are you working on?
You just automatically assume everyone's an engineer there. It's insane.
So you've seen the good times and the bad times up there?
I follow the bad times though, because I moved down to Edinburgh during the recession to study, because I knew if I stayed in Aberdeen I would never study. And then
what did you study?
Accountancy and finance.
She said
I know.
So were you in Edinburgh for 4 years or
6 years?
So when did you move to Edinburgh?
2008.
See, that's interesting, because every time I speak to someone about the Aberdeen market and
it was booming in that time.
It was booming in that time. And the whole country was in recession.
I used to go to Aberdeen for nights out and shopping because it was better than Edinburgh, because there was also all the tram works going on.
Yeah.
And then I was also trying to be an absolute geek, so I didn't really have much of a life in Edinburgh. Like, I had some friends. I had my dog who I rescued, and I absolutely loved her. But other than that, everything, I had like a huge group of friends up in Aberdeen. And I didn't have that in Edinburgh because I was determined not to make friends. I just wanted to get my degree, and I thought that the whole education.
You're a bit a geek then, were you?
Not before that, but
She had to get a degree.
I wanted to get that degree because that was back then, or that old-fashioned view of study, work hard, and you'll make it. And then I realised, because I went on to become a chartered accountant. And
with a firm in Aberdeen?
Sorry?
With a firm in Aberdeen?
Yeah, both. Because I worked in Dunfermline for a bit. And then I decided I wanted to move back home. And just like a year after moving back home, the oil crashed. And since then, Aberdeen has never... I was like, oh, you're kidding. And yeah.
But it's not put you off property and investing and staying in the economy and staying in Aberdeen, was it?
No. So I had my first flat when I was 17, thanks to my mum. And I lived in there, and I rented out my spare room. And I kind of always wanted to get into property, but I didn't know how. I had no idea. And then I kind of just was studying and focusing on that. And whenever I had any like holidays, I just wanted to have fun, And I moved to Edinburgh. And after a year of paying like extortionate fees for student halls, I realized like I could be paying this into a mortgage and getting something back out of it. Because right now I'm paying all this money. And what am I getting in return? Nothing, just a crappy little room. It was tiny and it was so expensive. And so I decided to get a mortgage, and that was just on the cusp of when the mortgages got strict. So I got 120% mortgage.
Wow. In Edinburgh?
Yeah, in Edinburgh.
120?
Yeah, I bought it in Drylaw, of all places, and I didn't know Edinburgh. I just saw this flat and I saw the view. I loved the view, and it was 3 bedrooms. And all I had in my head was, I'm a student, I've got 2 bedrooms to rent out.
Yeah.
It's going to be free. For me to live here. So that's what I did. Yeah, well, I wasn't really thinking.
Was your mum, was that your mum's guidance or?
No, I just went to the bank and was like, I want to buy a flat.
Good.
And they gave me a mortgage, and then on top of it, they gave me extra. I was like, really?
How did that property pan out then? Obviously, did it drop in value?
It was horrible. I hated that property. I didn't lose out of it, but I didn't gain anything either. And then I sold that 5 years. No. Oh God, I don't know how long ago, maybe 6 years ago.
Right.
And
did you rent it back out when you moved back to Aberdeen?
Yeah, so it was all rented out, and the tenants there just ruined it. And so it was sold not for as much as I could have made, but I just wanted rid of it because I hated that place. I had so many bad memories there, and I didn't want to put more money into it because I realised at that point the area was not a nice, you know, it's not going to increase.
What did you buy it for, and what did you sell it for then over that?
I can't remember now. I think I bought it for 100, something like that, and I got 110k mortgage. It was interest only. I didn't really pay off much capital from it, but I still sold it for like 130, I think it was. So it wasn't bad. Plus, obviously, I think I was getting about £900 in rent.
I was going to say it saved you that rental income because you got your accommodation paid for you.
I still gained out of it, I guess, overall. But you know, I wasn't looking at figures or anything like that. And then I bought another flat in Aberdeen with that money.
Right.
And I put it on.
What year was this when you bought that one in Aberdeen?
It was just immediately after. So I got.
So was this Aberdeen crash time then? Right.
Yeah. The flat was a bargain.
So you didn't. You almost avoided the stingy times in Aberdeen and got an opportunity when you came back up.
It was actually. It must have been 2019.
Right.
Because soon after, I remember it was COVID, and the temporary tenants I had in there just like did a moonlight flit and disappeared. And they were like, no, we're moving. But they were supposed to be temporary. But because they were giving me regular income each month, I was just like, fine, you know, I'll wait until they leave eventually.
Yeah.
And then they left, and I put it on Airbnb during COVID, and I still had guests staying. And I was like,
super.
Great. I know, because it was always meant to be an Airbnb, but it just meant that I had to do it up first. But with these tenants, I didn't need to do it up because they wanted it as it was from day one.
So what did you end up spending on like turn up for Airbnb?
Not much, because I did most of it myself.
Right, yeah. Just
I laid the floor. I changed the floor in the bathroom, which is small. It's a tiny little flat, but it's on Skene Terrace, which is a really nice street in Aberdeen. And I personally really love that street. So it's a small little basement flat. I got my decorator in to put up the wallpaper and things because I got sick of it. I was in there for like 2 weeks.
You did the floor, but you didn't do the wallpaper.
First floor I did.
That's disappointing.
I've never done wallpaper in my life. But
I didn't do floor before in your life either.
I know.
What kind of flooring did you put in?
Just the sticky vinyl. I got it from B&M for really cheap. It's still there.
Is that straightforward? Quite easy to do?
No, not cutting around a toilet and radiator valves and stuff like that. But I managed. But my mom, right? She's like, my mom is amazing at this stuff. So she's actually somebody I really admire. She's a doctor. And she can lay flooring. Yeah, no, she can do everything. She can install the kitchen. She can do everything.
Is your mum into this, or do you drag her in?
Right, so she does it. She does it because she enjoys it, and I'm like, you could have been a millionaire by now, you know, because she buys really run down flats, like dumps. And she'll stay in it and do it up gradually. She'll put in the sink. She'll put in the... She does everything herself. Literally everything. She knows how... You know, so if I'm stuck with something, I go to her if I'm trying to do it myself because she knows what to do. And she taught herself.
Is she still working as a doctor?
No, she's retired. No, she's 74. But she's still doing it even now.
Brilliant.
You know, she's like so fit and healthy and looks great. Like she looks 20 years younger than her age.
That's amazing.
Yeah, honestly, I really admire her for this. And she buys them in like really horrible areas too, like Tilly Drone in high-rise flats, you know, where you think, no, never.
Is that the ones that are like A-listed buildings in Aberdeen?
No, they're just full of junkies and drug dealers, right? And like screaming. There was one, but they're friendly to her. There was no issue.
So does she actually live in them and do them up?
Yeah,
while
but
she's living them?
Listen to this. So she always sells stuff. She has a gift.
She's a property trader.
No, but she doesn't do it to make the money. I mean, she makes the money and she lives off that for the next year or so. Yeah. And she has her pension. And then she sells it and goes to the next one. And she's always like, this is my last one. And it never is. But she had this one in Tilly Drone. 2, actually. 3. But 2 of them, really, I was like, no. And
I'm scared for your safety, Mum.
Yeah. But she not only sold them when the market crashed and everything was selling below market value. It was probably the worst time in Aberdeen. She sold it within a few hours of going live for more than she was asking.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly.
Pretty unheard of in Aberdeen.
Yeah, I know.
And in that area.
I know.
And you can't even get mortgages in the flipping... Most of them.
And honestly, she just has this gift with property, and I'm not anywhere near as good as her. I love doing it, and I want to make money out of it, of course. But she is just I wish I inherited that from her, you know. So
you
I
must
maybe
have, you
got
must
a
have
bit,
somewhere,
yeah, but I don't know. She manages to make everything feel really homely and inviting.
So your first one in the skiing terrace that put onto the Airbnb, did she help you refurb it up to put onto?
No, I just asked her kind of, you know, how do I cut this? And then she would come and help me and show me. But she ends up taking over and just doing it for me, you know. But I do try and learn it myself. But then I think by the end of that, I was so exhausted because I was even kind of going through all the grout with a grout pen to make it all white again. And it's just,
was that just because you were kind of starting out and you're just trying to save money? Like, I presume it's changed now.
But I like doing things like that. But then it's so difficult because at the time I still had Logan and he was at nursery. So, you know, he wasn't in school all day long. So I only had like a few hours.
How many kids have you got now?
2. 15-month-old and a 7-year-old. So I didn't have loads of time. I just had a few hours every day to get stuff done, and that was. And I'm not the most patient person. So like, you know.
So that one went on Airbnb during COVID, and you still got decent occupancy rate, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I had to drop all my prices, but I never had any issues with occupancy. I always had money coming in, and way more than if I rented it out. And I didn't have to make it all brand new. I just had to, you know, touch it up, decorate it, and just improve some of the flooring. Or something that didn't look that great. And, you know, like, for example, the kitchen, rather than replacing the kitchen, I just put on a vinyl top on the worktop and I repainted, like I spray painted the cupboard doors, and it looks nice. And then, you know, a few people have damaged it, but then I just put some more vinyl on it. And
is that still going on the Airbnb?
Yeah. It's probably my busiest one. So, yeah.
And it's a basement flat as well too. That's quite nice.
But it's skiing terrace and it's, you know,
lovely
nice,
street.
Unique little street, and it's right in the centre. So
you've been round there a couple of times with the spray paint can touching up.
No, not anymore. I'm just like, there's someone. I don't have the time anymore. I would love to, but I don't have that kind of time.
Was that the penny dropping moment that you can add to that portfolio on?
No, it was when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad,
right?
And I saw the strategy and approach, and that was when I was like, right, I'm doing it. And
what was it?
You've done it
specifically in Rich Dad Poor Dad.
It was the remortgaging, you know, the refinancing once you've renovated it. I was like, why did I never think of this? Because I have another flat, the one that my mum bought me when I was 17. So that was used as the leverage for my flat that I bought in Edinburgh. And that's been sitting unencumbered for years. So I used that and I refinanced that, and I bought 3 properties in one go in 2021, I think it was. And that's when I've started.
Was that for the Airbnb ones again? Was that all to be service accommodation?
No, because the service accommodation, at least for my flats, because they're not like brand spanking new. They're, you know, more kind of just comfortable. So, I mean, you stayed in it. It's literally, that's how it was when I lived in it 20 years ago. Nothing's really, I've actually repainted it a year ago, but
away from Magnolia.
No.
Did you
burnt orange instead of red, you know, but I was told the red is too angry, so I was like, okay, let's change that.
Tone it down a bit.
But nothing much has changed in that flat because I'm making the money from it, so I don't need to spend on it.
A lot of money.
And I managed to refinance that at 135,000.
Nice.
Because the flat below me must have been done up. And that was
the
sold for 135.
So you're releasing all this tied up equity.
Yeah.
Did you speak to your mum about this?
Yeah.
And what was her view? Because you know how sometimes...
She just muttered something. I was like, oh. Because I still told her to do that. But then I think at her age, it's harder for her to get a mortgage as well.
Yeah, and she'll probably, a risk appetite will be a whole lot different as well.
I think she does it more because she enjoys it.
Yeah. We speak to a lot of people though, and they go and like speak to their parents, or they go and speak to their siblings or their family and all that. And because it's like, obviously you're leveraging yourself a bit more and you're exposing yourself to more debt, then your family and your close network can try and talk you out of that sort of stuff. But you didn't have that.
Cracked on with it. And Matt, my other half, he's so supportive of me. And, you know, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had the guts to start any of my businesses. You know, I mean, with a property, yes. But my bookkeeping business, for example, I wanted to do that for so long, but it's scary. You know, it's so scary. And especially when you've got kids as well that rely on you and you've got mortgages to pay. And, you know, I was lucky because I had the serviced accommodations, but not everybody has that.
Did you ever remortgage your own house?
No. I live in my mum's house and I rent that out. So,
right, okay, got you.
And then I planned to leave there long before now. So basically when I came back from Edinburgh, I had my dog and I needed a place with a garden. So I was like, can I rent your house from you? at market rate, because I'm not going to be.
So she got booted out.
I don't want her
into the junkie.
No, she had tenants. She had tenants. So she had tenants in that house who were great tenants, and I felt really good. And their name was Natalia as well, actually. But I felt really bad that they had to get kicked out. But I was like, look, I need somewhere
with a garden.
And I mean, it's not the best area in Aberdeen, but I'm really lucky. I have a nice street. I've got like 2 supermarkets right next to me, which is what every mum needs. And I was a single mum later on. And then,
has she put the rent up yet?
No, she always tries to decrease it for me, and I'm like, no, it's not fair for you. No. But it's like 10 minutes from the city centre, 10 minutes. So it's just great. Yeah. It's really convenient, you know.
Good location, yeah.
Yeah, really good location in terms of amenities. Yeah. So, yeah, and I've just never moved because it's really comfortable, you know.
Going back to the difficulties in starting your own business as well, because obviously then you started the bookkeeping business on top of the successful service accommodation business. And what's the restrictions? I mean, I suppose tell us about it as a woman, being a full-time mum, and you know that I suppose you said like the kind of fear and the fear is that fear of failure, and your partner giving you that support just gives you that bit of comfort to go, well, I can do this.
Well, I was like a single mum from when Logan was about 1 until 3, I think it was. And I didn't really have time to think of anything else. But I remember thinking, I want to work for myself, because as an accountant, it's really hard to find a part-time job. And being a mum, I wanted to raise my kids, which starting your own business doesn't really support. But anyway, I wanted to be there for them, or him at that point. And but I wanted a part-time job to be able to do that. I didn't want to just be a mum at the weekends. And I was lucky. I did manage to find a part-time job, but it wasn't easy. And I just thought, okay, I want to work for myself, you know.
Just the flexibility of doing your own hours. When Logan goes to bed, you can sit and do your hours at night time. Or
exactly. So it's like you can kind of choose. I think at the beginning, no. Now it's starting to get to that point, because I've managed to get the systems in place in my business and delegate and staff. Because the hardest thing is finding the right team.
Yeah.
And I really care about my clients. So I don't want to just have, you know, standard service, like whatever. I want a team who's like me, and I'm really lucky because I've found a girl who is like me, and I've managed to find other staff through her, and I've got a great team working for me now. And
how many have you got?
4.
Nice. Excellent.
And I think soon I'll be able to get 5.
That's brilliant.
Well, 5 actually, including my social media manager, who's based out in the States. And
how long was that taking to build in?
3 years I started, but it's all been through word of mouth.
Space of time.
Yeah, everything's been through word of mouth. And now only since February this year, I started having more. So, because I was going to try and do it myself, but I'm clueless. So I decided I'm going to outsource that. And then I found some girl in the States. She's not the cheapest, but I was like, let's give her a shot.
To take on all her social media.
Yeah. And she's posting everything for me. She makes like really hilarious posts for me. And lots of Friends references, actually, which, you know, I love. But like, maybe we need to kind of put in something else here, you know.
Let's take a quick break, guys, from today's show to talk about selling your property with Prime Property Auctions. Now, myself and Stephen have both used John and Lewis from Prime in the past, and we can personally vouch for their service. They sell vacant and tenanted property, and you get to control the minimum reserve price so that you're not selling your property for peanuts. They pay for all the stuff like photos, videos, and all the marketing stuff up front, so you're not paying anything from the start, and it's a no sale, no fee. So if you want to check out Prime Property Auctions, then get across to the link on the show notes and speak to the guys.
How did you get her to speak in your voice? Was that quite? Did you have to spend a lot of time up front getting to know her, getting to know you, so she can speak?
She never speaks in my voice. No. And where? When?
No, like it's funny. As in like, so the posts and the content that she's put out there, like, so it's coming from you. That
we
you
have
to try and make it look authentic.
Sorry, I thought you meant like actually.
So I find that the hardest part about it.
I've not seen this post.
There's AI tools that can do that now.
Oh God, probably. No, I just told her what I'm looking for, and this is what I find amazing though, is she's actually managed to capture that.
Right.
Because I was like, I want it to be fun, but also professional. I don't want it to be the typical boring
stuffy
accountant, you know.
How did you get your first client?
It was my contractor, actually.
Was it money?
Yeah, it was money. He was my first client, and he referred a few people to me, and then Actually, no, that's a lie. I had 2 clients before that I've had for like 15 years.
Right.
A PT and a crafts, a lady, she does lots of crafts up in Shetland. And I met them both through the gym. And I just did like, mates thing.
So predominantly is it like
but that wasn't like a push to, sorry.
Is it like sole traders, small businesses?
It's everything. I mean, like the niche I would say is like construction and property and essays, because I've got a couple of holiday let management companies. And
he's got a big company. He's got a lot of vans rolled up in Aberdeen. They've got contractors up there,
But I've got people all over the UK now.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because I've got a client, actually 2 or 3 clients down in England. One was in Canada, but his business closed. They sold it off and closed it. And actually that was horrible because, not for me or anything, but I took on them. I found them just randomly through Bark because occasionally I went on there to find a client, but not very often because I've been very busy. But I got this client and they were a big fee, big client. And I was like, yes, oh my God, and this was in the first year, within the first year I started. And I feel like every accountant they had and bookkeeper, internal bookkeeper, just completely took advantage of their good nature.
Right.
Because when I took on their books, everything was wrong. Everything was mess. They probably should have gone under long before I took over. And I spent so much time, because this is what I mean, like I really care about my clients. I spent all evenings and weekends and everything sorting everything out. They had over £80,000 in debtors due to them. And they were struggling to pay off all their suppliers and they felt really bad about it and they were so stressed out. It's like, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like little things like their accountants were doing management accounts and it was like really obvious mistakes. And I was just like, even as a trainee,
no care given at all.
None. They were just there taking the money and they weren't putting anything in. And I got so angry with that because it's just, these people have no clue about finance or accounts and they're placing their trust and their business and livelihoods in somebody. And it was a family run business and it used to be really successful, but they've at some point placed their business and their lives in somebody's hands who just does not care. And I mean, that's not very common. Most people in the accountancy industry that I've worked in, they do really care and they care about their careers as well as their clients and their reputation. But
I'm not just saying this because you're here, right? But if I was to give any advice, like as a small business owner myself, I've been trading for a number of years now, going back, if I was ever to give any advice, I would say number one things you should start out with is make sure you are got good bookkeeping records, like keeping all receipts. Because trying to clear up that going back, if you don't have the if you don't have the trail, you don't have the paperwork.
I think people don't realise until it's too late how.
So it's just a simple thing like keeping receipts, and then also obviously like don't scrimp on the accounting and the bookkeeping, because I try to go down, because obviously money's tight at the start, right? So you're like, you're kind of prioritising things and that. And I'm thinking to myself, right, I'll get a guy off of, I think it was like Upwork or one of these Fiverr sites or something like that. Like, I think it was a guy from Pakistan, nothing against Pakistan or anything like that, but it was like cheap.
But it's different laws as well.
Yeah. And I was like, I'll just get this guy. It was like cheap as chips.
That's happened with a few of my clients. And that's okay, because I do it too. But I know what I'm looking for in a VA, for example. If I'm looking for a bookkeeper and accountant, I know what to look out for, but the average business owner doesn't. And then so many clients come up to me and they're really apologetic. And I'm like, no, you don't need to feel bad. Everyone comes to me because their books are usually in a mess. Very few people come from the outset saying, I need a bookkeeper. Most people think that they can do it themselves. And it is really...
my accountants...
See, we done the exact opposite when we first did one of the first flip companies I started. We went to, we thought, right, if we're going to go bigger with this, we want to meet new clients, we want to meet new people that can invest in our deals. We'll go to this high-end accountancy firm in Dunfermline, and they're the most expensive one we came by, but they've got lots of connections and say on air.
Okay, a future sponsor.
No, okay.
And it was a big fee, but don't worry, we'll introduce you. We've got all the developer partners, we'll introduce you to them. That the next thing, and we're thinking brilliant, and got no support at all. And at the end of the first year, you're like, the way the flip was working, do you know when you were in the middle of not selling properties, it's like a minus 53 grand loss in the first year, and they're hitting you with, here's our first accountancy bill, and it was like 7 grand. I was like, well, a minus 53 grand fucking position for the first year, and you're trying to hit us with 7 grand. You told us to be 2.5. Oh, but remember that call we had, and it was like this logged call. Remember you phoned and asked about this? Logged everything. We're like, you wouldn't go and fit a bathroom suite for someone,
but
and
they
say,
should really be saying that, but it is, that's very old school. I mean, the way I do it is I just have fixed monthly fees. I try and gauge how much work is going to be involved. But the thing is, people think bookkeeping is really cheap.
No,
and that's the most time consuming part. And I try and explain, fine, because I mean, whilst I do accounts and things, I try to just stick with the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I don't generally advertise it, but if a client asks for that, I'm like, okay.
So do you work with other accountants then? If you're just doing the bookkeeping?
I'll refer, but most people already have an accountant. So we just deal directly with the accountant for the client. And usually, at least it should be, but some accountants may not volunteer that information. But if you have tidy books, from working in practice for, 13 years, I know this from my own experience. The clients who had the most organized and best books, whether they did that themselves because they're like super great at bookkeeping or they had their own bookkeeper, they had the lowest accountancy fees because that was the least amount of work
to do.
Because when you're preparing a set of accounts, everything needs to be correct. And what might be a repair for one business may not necessarily be that for another. That could be a piece of capital, like some machinery. And it's knowing where to go, but not even every bookkeeper will know that either. So it's like, that's kind of, I think the business I have is this gap in the market now, because bookkeepers stereotypically tend to be ladies, older, who want to work from home and for themselves. That's the most common type of bookkeeper. And accountants are moving away from that. So I'm trying to find this gap
in the middle
and fill it with a company that's like the size of an accountancy firm. That's why I don't really want to promote that we do these.
What's the best bookkeeping software out there?
In my opinion, Xero.
Well, that was my next question. Like, how much is Xero? Well, Xero for me as well.
I love
helps
Xero.
Your business.
I love this. Is the other thing is I try and save my clients time. So even if I'm not providing management accounts or things like that, I will happily talk through my clients how to use Xero to get the information that they're looking for. But many clients as well might come in with really messy books using either no software at all or the old school softwares, and they don't understand how much tidying that takes. Like I took on a client earlier this year and we're still fixing things because they had a VA, and that's quite a few. There's more than one client like that actually, and we're still trying to tidy that up because things have been allocated incorrectly. We also use the tracking feature quite a lot in Xero, so you can see, for example, properties, how much each property has cost you specifically, and you can pull these reports from Xero easily and filter it by
but it's a lot of work up front to do it in the bookkeeping side of it.
It's so much work. But it's that extra detail though,
What's your top tips for, like, I've got invoices coming in for everywhere. I'm out, taking pictures of receipts, and I'm
very happy to hear that.
Supplier invoices coming in my emails and stuff like that. So they're all coming in from all over the place. Is there something?
Are you doing your own books?
No. I've got my accountant does that as well.
Okay, so
but is there tips to kind of streamline my process of actually getting her those invoices? Is there any good tricks?
If you were my client, I would be having you on Xero and HubDoc. HubDoc is free. I know some people use Dex, but it's quite expensive.
We've got Xero. I've got Xero already.
So HubDoc comes for free with Xero, and you can literally email and take photos and drag and drop anything into there.
Right.
So
I'll take it one step further then, right? Because we're talking about property businesses.
Yeah.
Any tips on how, so if you've got a service accommodation properties, that's generally in a different company than your buy-to-lets. And then if you're doing flips, that's in a separate company altogether. And if you're doing deal sourcing, that's generally in a separate company altogether.
Yes.
Or if you go and partner with someone else in a development or a portfolio, that's in a separate company altogether. So if you've got 6 or 7 property businesses, which isn't very uncommon these days.
Yeah.
How do you organise your books?
I have that. So you can just jump between them. And then every single, if you, for example, if you're using the HubDoc to send your receipts in and somebody else is dealing with everything else, again, this is what I do for my clients.
HubDoc.
I tell them to save HubDoc, because the email address for HubDoc is like, HubDoc.E4X7, some random email string, which is specific to your HubDoc account. And I'll tell them, in my case, I have HubDoc Beyond Bookkeeping, HubDoc L2 Invest, HubDoc. So then I'm just typing that contact name and it's going to
that. So that you can forward an email with an invoice, a PDF attachment to that email address, and then it'll just save into the
and then
files.
Because that's what my clients do for me.
Right.
And I get that that email, and I might have to ask a question like, which property is this for? You can actually add in the note to the email.
Is the HubDoc a paid for thing?
No, it's free with Xero.
Oh, right, okay. That's
if
good.
You have Xero. If you don't have
I've
Xero,
learned something there. Back on on that later today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple tool.
Streamline.
It can, it's not like robust or anything like that. It is very, very simple, but
tax is going digital,
works.
Isn't it? Like all these
I know.
accounting software, this is the way it's going.
Well, at some point, I can't remember the exact date, but at some point everybody's going to have to be digital anyway.
Soon, isn't it?
2026 for landlords.
Right.
It was supposed to be 2024, but because of COVID, everything's been pushed back. And then for incorporated company, limited companies, it was going to be 2026, and everything's going to have to be done quarterly as well, which is the massive pain for people.
Oh God.
Yeah, rather than the annual.
Don't have enough to
I
do
know
with
exactly.
the VAT returns.
Yeah. So for your tax returns and things, everything's going to have to go.
That'll mean my fees will be going up as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of my bugbears at the moment now is the fact that the introduction of these technologies surely makes bookkeeping and accountancy easier and less work. So where's the reduction in the fees to the clients?
The accountants are moving towards more service-based and value-based, and they are giving a lot more advice than they used to. And before you had to pay quite a chunk more, but it has moved, because that kind of started when I graduated. All this software started coming in soon after. And everywhere I worked, they were very much right. Okay, we can provide more advice now. This is saving us time here. So now we need to be able to look at the figures rather than just churn out accounts. And that is where it's going for most accountants.
See, when it comes to your bookkeeping, how important is it to kind of, especially in a property business, to understand what you're putting against capital and what you're putting against repairs and maintenance, for instance? Has that got to be your strategy up front? Because I feel like no one ever asks me things like that up front, like your bookkeeper or your accountant says, what are you planning on doing with this property? Because surely that determines whether you're paying tax now, or if you're keeping it forever.
Yeah.
You put against capital.
The places I've worked, generally they do ask. It is usually...
Maybe I didn't pick up much, I didn't really understand it, but maybe it's worth a point on telling the listeners to understand a little bit about the difference between capital expense against a property.
But it's hard as well, because sometimes it can change. There's a few of my properties I wanted to flip, but I've ended up keeping them all.
Yeah.
But my initial intention was to flip. So when I was...
everything against capital.
No, well, with flipping, it should be going in your P&L, because it's a stock. It's not a capital investment. So that should be going in as trading stock, because you're trading that property. But obviously I changed my mind, so I had to move it into the balance sheet, So
but if you're putting against your property in a buy to let, and you put you do a kitchen, that's technically classed as capital, because you're improving the value of the property. Yeah. But if you're keeping that long term, you're only going to get that benefit, is that right, in 20 years time whenever you sell it. Yeah. But if you're saying, well, I'm never selling it, put that £5,000 for the kitchen against repairs and maintenance, and I'll offset my tax bill now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
can you
then
do that, or can you?
I always think, if you are investigated, can you explain this to HMRC? And I think, okay, if you can explain this and you think you can convince them, go for it. Yeah. But the thing is, they are quite strict on these things.
Right, go yeah.
So I always have that approach with every single one of my clients. I'm like, okay.
Have you got an explanation?
Can you explain this? And I will ask, if I personally think, I'll phone them and say, do you think you can explain it like this? How
did that client trip to UFC in Vegas go down the other month there? Did that get through your books?
Well, client entertainment doesn't class as a tax deductible expense.
But it's not, right?
No,
okay,
but you can put it through, but it's not really.
Trip.
So it's not a tax deductible.
I know, but
moving on.
Basically, my point was it's so important, and now I wish I'd taken it a lot more seriously in the first couple of years of business. So anyone that's listening to this and you're starting your own business, definitely don't overlook and don't scrimp on bookkeeping and accountancy.
Speak to Natalia.
Yeah,
speak to the expert. Speak to Natalia.
I think you're right. Your business has got a niche bit in the middle that joins them, because the accountancy firm will end up charging a fortune for it, like you say, and you just get
and I mean, generally the accountancy fees should come down if it's good quality bookkeeping. Some of them, they've already had bookkeepers, and then they are, the bookkeeper's retiring usually, and then I come in and I take over. But I mean, okay, I specialize in more the property side of whichever, whether that's construction or property investors or serviced accommodation or holiday let managers, or even, what are they called? What's the word? Rental managers.
Letting agents.
That's the one.
Like me. That's why I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly.
Scumbag.
So I think I've had too much coffee, brain blocks. But,
you've come from Aberdeen, we'll let you off.
Yeah, exactly. And with a child in the back. But I have loads. I've got PTs, you know, a girl that does crafts. I had a translation company. I've got filmmaking. I've got so many other different types of clients. And it's interesting, you know. I've actually, in the first job I ever had after graduating, one of the clients was actually even a prostitute, which was
did they
interesting.
Put their books through for that?
Yeah, because she wanted to get a job in the future, and it was important for her to, you know. And she was so nice. She was so sweet.
What tax code does that come under?
I know, but it was a shame. There was not many things she could claim because they, you know, HMRC considered that as
consumables.
It's not wholly and exclusively business. You know, you can imagine what a prostitute might buy.
Yeah.
You know, so we could only put through part of it, which was a shame.
Was the income pretty good? I mean,
it wasn't actually my client,
6 figures here.
but I was in the same office. It was a really small office, and it was like a shop. And she used to come in, and I was like, you know, when she first came in, I was like, that's the prostitute.
Well, do you know what? Not one of my tenants, but a friend of mine who manages his own properties. He had a couple that was renting a property off him, a nice property, so that the rent was quite high, you know, so he needed a good level of income from the tenants. So he was doing the reference thing. He says, you know, what is it you do? So they do the OnlyFans, yeah. So obviously he was like, right, okay, so how does that work? Do you get wage slips? No pay slips. Bank transactions, you know. So he got the bank statement, and it was like insane amounts of money. I'm talking about. These guys are a lot of money.
Yeah.
So at the first inspection he went round, so he rented the flat to him. There was no problem with affordability. There were, you know, like $8,000 a month coming in easily. Yeah. Most months, and then he didn't really understand exactly what it was they did on OnlyFans. Then he went round for the first 6 months inspection, and he went in. They've got all the cameras set up in the bedroom, so they've got a 2-bedroom flat.
It's like the G4 podcast.
So like one of the bedrooms is set up like a studio with all these tripods, cameras, lights, and everything onto the beds like that. And
that's like next level.
And the guy was like totally open. Yeah, this is what we do. This is our studio room. Like, this is what we do. We obviously we have our fans that watch us. Basically have sex.
Remember right at the start of I think it was one of the first lockdowns in Aberdeen, and the letting agent phoned me and he says, I think it was one of the flats in Union Street, one of the really nice ones. So I've got a couple of tenants to check. One of them's really good, but you want to check their phone. You know, they usually ask me, like, I tend to ask, I don't ask many questions, but one of them is like, you know, what do they do? Let me see if there's an industry that's quite solid and flexible. He says, this statement's coming up with OF, what's that? And I was like, I don't fucking know. And he's like, that's the first one I found out about. Yeah. So real income went in March, was it February or March 2020, like right before COVID, it was like £800 a month. Yeah. Then April, 3,000, May, 6,000, June, 10,000. And this was like in July, it was like, it's like £12,000 a month she's making or something like that now. She can pass the affordability. And I'm like, what the fuck? Show me the bank statement. It's like, holy cow.
So basically, what we're saying here is OnlyFans is the way forward.
Like, do you think we've got a market for OnlyFans account, mate?
You've got the studio, you know.
Right. Needless to say, he did have to claim on a deposit for the mattress at the end of it, which was pretty fucked.
I think they could probably afford the, you know.
I think they just went and bought a new mattress for him,
Oh my God, I know. Oh my God.
Anyway, moving on from that.
I just don't know how people have the time and energy to do something like that. You know, for me, because I hear about it and then I'm like, some of them do, but you have to talk to these guys, you know.
No, I mean, there's not of
not that I've had, but to me, I'm like, that just sounds. I've got messages even from my nephew from February that I haven't even replied to, like the "This Is Wealth" stuff. There's 1,500 messages sitting there unread. I just don't have the time. I don't even reply to my friends. You know, this is like
my wife hates group chats.
Oh, same. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
She's got them all deleted, even the family one.
Yeah, honestly, like. But there is lots of nuggets in there that are really useful. That I've found, you know, lots of benefit from it, and I don't even use it as much as some. And I would love to be more active on it. I just can't be bothered. I hate texting now. I really hate it. And I just, if I'm going to reply to someone, it has to be on my laptop now because I need to be quick. I just want it over with, you know.
I thought it'd be quicker on your phone than on a laptop.
No, I prefer it because I'm much quicker typing.
Are you a voice
and then you get a typo. No, because I don't want someone to voice note me back. So I try not to voice note.
I now voice note my accountant, and I don't know if she likes it or not, but she's now voice noting me back, so I don't mind.
Oh, I just don't want to listen.
It's handy,
I have to listen. It is really handy for the person giving the voice note, but not for the one that has to listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, because if I have a minute to catch up on anything, I'm usually like putting the kids to bed. So it has to be like, I'm trying to learn Italian at the moment, and I am probably going to pronounce everything. It's during the kids' bedtime. That's the only time I have to do it. So it's literally like half an hour every evening when I'm putting Sophia to sleep. I'm on Duolingo, but I can't listen to anything. I can't do the speaking part. I can only do the reading and the writing. Right. So I'm going to have to sit down at one point and catch up on
You speak any other languages?
No. I did speak some Polish when I was small, but I forgot everything.
Why Italian?
I'm moving to Slovenia. So, and that's right on the border of Italy where I'm moving. So, yeah.
Why are you moving to Slovenia?
Other half is from there, and he's been working there. So, like, also, since September, I've essentially been living as a single mom with 2 kids. Because he's been working as a lecturer over there, and he comes back as much as he can, of course, but as a lecturer you need to be physically present.
Is he from there?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
So he's got a house and stuff.
This is why I love having guests like Natalia, because you've got a full on life. That's what I'm saying to you.
Oh my God, it's so full. It's too. I have had a few kind of mental breakdowns on my own, you know.
So where else should we go with this conversation then? Because we've got 15 minutes left, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface with your life. So
I know, honestly.
What other
but my life is really boring.
No, it's not. I'm really interested in this conversation.
But day to day, it sounds great. But like day to day, doing all that, because bookkeeping is not fun. The only thing I love, like staging properties, I absolutely love doing that.
You've been doing a bit of that lately?
With all my flats, I stage them. You know, like I've had somebody decorate them, and I choose all the colours and thing. And I know grey has been really popular, so I try and always do opposite of any trend. Of always, so, you know, as a child, I used to hate anything that was on top of the pops because it was popular. It's ridiculous, but I was If
you ask me why I hate football so much, I'm like, because it was popular.
I know.
I'm weird that
I know exactly. So the grey, as much as I love it and it looks great, I was like, no, I'm going to stay away from it. And actually, I had someone come and view my most recent project, and she said it's because it wasn't grey. Wow. And I was like, see, you know.
So I'm liking the greens.
One of mine is grey as well.
Yeah. Green.
The green, yeah. I did green. That was what I did. I went sage green. And
I did like a dark, deep blue as well.
And Egyptian cotton, which I know is like beigey. And
is that a paint colour?
Beiges are coming back.
Yes, it's a paint colour. Yeah. It's lovely though. Yeah. If you mix it with the right colours, it's such a nice, warm, neutral colour, in my opinion.
What have you been adding to the portfolio recently?
Just the one that was actually sourced by you and Sam, or is just Sam, I'm not really sure. In Rosemount. And yeah, there was lots of delays. So that's...
Nice.
Done.
Essay?
No.
Not going back to
I'm trying to stay away from that in Aberdeen, because since the licensing and everybody flooded it.
Yes.
You know, unless you've got like premium. Okay, I guess this one would be a premium property, but I'm trying to build the BTL and everything, and I want to get that refinanced, and it's a lot easier to get that refinanced than on an essay.
You must be the opposite. Like, I don't know if you're bucking the popular trend, because I'm
just an idiot, you know.
No, I don't know. I think there's a lot of value, I think, in doing the opposite of what people are doing, because I were at the Scottish Property podcast event last night, and every single person that was at the room, no one was talking about buy-to-lets, talking about essays.
Yeah, because it's cash. I want to do SA. I just don't want to do it in Aberdeen. My goal with SA is to have an SA in every single city, like major. I want one in Dubai. I want one in London. I want one in Barcelona, so I can use it.
Use them. Yeah.
And then they make me money. That's because I love traveling, like to me, and dancing. Yeah. So for me, like Barcelona is great for dancing. It's one of my favorite cities. But
did they not ban? I think they banned Airbnb.
I don't know. Don't tell me that, because I haven't done the research. So yeah, but I can be on the edge. There's lots of places near Barcelona.
So people are flocking to Aberdeen. They're doing the SA, but you're thinking the buy-to-lets stacks are better.
Yeah, personally, I mean, you still get more cash out of out of the SAs, but for my own ones. But again, I'm factoring in the fact that they're not like brand new, newly refurbished.
The time that is required as well.
But before November, they were like flying off the shelves. There was always 90% occupancy, and the 2-bed was going for about 140 a night. And the other 1-bed, the one at Skene Terrace, that was about 75 a night. Right. And now The 2-bed is at 72.
That's a huge drop.
Yep, massive drop.
Why is that?
I think because everybody flooded it, because Aberdeen Council are known to be one of the better ones for the licensing. That's my opinion, because it's
There's
just
a lot more
straight after the...
Just supply basically.
Yeah, there's a much more supply and nicer stock as well.
Okay.
You know, much nicer than
So
my
the
too.
spray painted kitchen units are not doing it
They're just
anymore.
not cutting it. It looks nice. It is really, it's got a really
In a
nice
picture.
atmosphere. But no, it is really nice when you walk in.
We were listening to a guy talk last night, Callum Graham from B&B Host, and he was saying that the reviews in that business are critical, like so important.
Yeah,
the
they
minute
are.
you get a few runs of bad
But
reviews.
mine are okay. I've been a super host a few times, but I find some nationalities are pickier than others, you know, and then some people, there's just no pleasing them.
Yeah,
You know, I had one woman complaining because she couldn't park her car in the car park and she couldn't get out of the car. I'm like, well, that's just your driving, you know, and and then some people are just nitpicking at the smallest
What's a lot of your
thing.
tenant demographics on the Airbnbs in Aberdeen at the moment?
Oh gosh, I don't, because I've automated everything.
Have you?
now, so
Yeah.
I don't really get too involved,
Yeah.
and I've
Are you
always
still
had it that
managing the
way.
bookings?
Yeah,
yourself?
I have everything myself, but I rarely get involved because
Right.
I have all the messaging set up.
Yeah.
I've got an online guide. I've got everything because my time is the most important thing for me because I have so little of it. So I try not to be
Involved in
unless they have a specific question. I don't really interact with them very much, so I don't know. In the past, it was like people coming to see their kids graduate, people for work. Sometimes people just passing through on traveling around Scotland, you know. Some people might be longer term for studying. It could be anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really big I had pre-COVID, I had a lot of theatre
Right.
workers, but now they're looking for absolute bargains because their budgets are much lower, so I don't get so many of them.
So now, you've noticed a trend going. You've pretty much half your 2-bed nightly rate, and your occupancy is down as well. So
Yeah, well, I've managed to get it back up,
All right,
but
I've
the
been
2-bed
more.
is harder to get
right.
occupancy than the 1-bed. The 1-bed's fully booked until August now, but
See, I see a lot of times. Often think, especially when you look at sites like Aberdeen, that the SA market is like the buzzword and a bit of a course seller or a trend set to try and attract people in for other reasons, and that's a lot of bullshit. Because I like to look at it from the numbers and the facts, figures, plot on the spreadsheet. Let me see what's actually doing. And we did a couple in Aberdeen, and one of them I think's the one that should tick the boxes. It was one of the most traditional looking buildings at the top end of Union Street.
Yeah.
Nice original features, 2-bed flat with parking at the back on Union Street, the west end of Union Street,
Amazing.
498. And I was like, you can't get any better location in Aberdeen surely than that.
Yeah.
And we done the numbers based on was it a 13 or 14 month period, and it was like 1,800 quid a month for over that period of time difference from a standard buy to let, and I was like 1,800 quid for
800 quid, 1,800 quid over the year.
Over 12 or 13 months, or whatever it took it.
You'd be better off on the SA.
So, but I was giving us hassle.
What's the point?
We had minus 300 one month, and we had that.
When
plus
was that?
That was about a year and a half ago, 2 years
gosh,
ago.
no, because for mine, I was getting like crazy much more money than
the only times
that's
that
why they're still in SA.
Well, the only
Because
times
even now
that
they're still doing better than if I rented them out.
Well, the only times it did really well was when we got like 30-day bookings. Some like you know, Scotia helicopter pilot was down training, and they wanted like 30-day bookings at a time. They were really good. So I didn't like the unpredictability of 1 month we're making £1,400 a month of that flat.
I know. This is the thing;
After
it's
costs.
unpredictable.
Next month we're minus £300
really
because we've got our mortgage costs, and we've got our council tax, and we've got utilities.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
were you factoring those figures? Were you factoring like a 20% management
20%
fee?
plus VAT for management for a
whereas you don't have that.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference because I've looked at properties down in London and I was like, amazing. But as soon as you've got, because I don't want to manage any of the ones that I have elsewhere. I want someone else to do that for me because I can't be bothered. And
I think that was the way I looked at it. It's for me, even if you're looking at it from scale as well and having them in different size, you need to have them managed.
I know, that's it. And then as soon as you've got that management fee coming in, it drops the profit. And but then that's an area I'm very new at is rent to SA. Like I have not got any experience in that.
There's quite a few guys in the group doing it.
Yeah, I know. It's through one of them actually.
Really, really well.
I don't know if I'm allowed to name names, but there's one guy in the group. He's a sourcer, and he's like really lovely. And it's just never worked out to get anything through him. It's just either the cash just got tied up in something else or whatever. It's just not happened yet.
Would you put your Rosemont one to rent to SA, like, and you get the kind of guaranteed income?
Actually, one of the girls that came to view it, she wanted to do that. And I just was like, look, this is my experience. It's totally up to you, but I'm just letting you know now, it might not be as fruitful as you think, as what you've been told.
I think you're being too honest.
I know. I am honest though. Like I'm ridiculously honest. Like it's stupid sometimes.
Because we said that to quite a few of them in the group. Like, you want to do rent to rent in our properties in Aberdeen, of course we're more than up for it. But if we get £50 or £100 a month more than market value rent, you take care of minor rents, you crack on and make your money. We're happily, it's a win-win for both parties. And then we get a company let as well.
Yes, totally.
So it's like, you could.
So
but for me, £100
for the listeners, because we've broken into jargon, for the people who don't know what rent to SA is, this is where you are approaching the landlord. So say you own the property and you've got this, you're talking about this girl coming to you. She was going to pay you a rent. Then she's basically subletting it out on Airbnb, booking.com and taking obviously whatever's left over at the end after she pays your rent and her costs.
Which is a great strategy. We had Cammy Colquhoun on the podcast a few months back, and he was sharing the numbers on his one he'd done on Kirkliston or Kirknewton, I think. It's just down the outskirts of Edinburgh. And he's netted 12 grand this month on a rent to rent. It's like
in Edinburgh,
it's just on the outskirts on it.
Yeah,
like
but Edinburgh's like,
the only problem is it's obviously you are at risk that the landlord pulls the plug.
Yeah.
And then you've got, because I think that happened to Cammy.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't have ups and downs of that.
What a shame.
Didn't it?
I'm not sure.
It
I
did.
did. On the
Remember
Royal
he
Mile.
came in?
It was the new license on the Royal Mile.
That
really affected him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet.
But
yeah.
the tax
I've heard Edinburgh has been really difficult.
I don't like where I'm not in control, and I feel like the rent, when the rent to rent, you're just not in control. They could pull. I like to own the asset, but anyway,
I get you. I do get you, but then at the same time, because it's SA, I think I'm more tantalized by the idea of having a property in loads of different cities that will enable me to travel, but they have to be 2 bedrooms so I can fit my kids. You know, this is the thing. I have specific requirements for them. So it's
the
not
money
just
buying
cash.
adding to the portfolio and all that, where's that come from? Is that because you're doing well at your business? Is that allowing you to invest?
So up till now, it's actually just been from refinancing the other properties. I've not had to pull money from the other businesses.
Okay.
But that is now it's kind of taken off. I think that I will be able to use, intercompany loans to finance some of the other ones.
We now know where the property money's coming from, the property in Barcelona.
But I try not to mix them up too much because it gets really messy and, I don't want my own stuff to be messy now. You know what I mean?
You've got clients.
I need to focus on everybody else's without having to fix my stuff. So, and that's the thing. I'm more anal, I guess, with my clients' books than my own, which is silly. But I remember somebody else saying that to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm actually like that. I didn't realize this, but I care more about. I guess it's because it's like they're trusting you. Whereas I know I can fix mine at the end and I know what that is.
I think I do that as well. When I started using more and more private investor finance, my due diligence
you just don't want to let
level
down.
went to another level. It was like I didn't leave any stone unturned, but seeing it was my own. I'll go for that. It looks all right.
That's
okay.
exactly what I've done. Same with, actually now you mention it. I've done the same with all the properties I've bought. I've just kind of gone, if I've not had Murray there helping me and giving me his estimate of what he thinks it would cost based on what I want to do to it, I'll kind of estimate something in my head, which so far I've been quite lucky. It's not actually been too far off where he's said what I thought. And I don't know where I got the figures from at the beginning either. But anyway, now that I'm trying to get into sourcing, I'm so much more, it's like paralyzed, analysis paralysis, that's the word, isn't it? It's more like that now. And I don't know, I'm like, oh, is this going to be a good deal? And I'm questioning it more. Whereas if it was for me, I would probably go for it and just.
How are you going to be able to do sourcing when you're moving to Slovenia?
I'm going to be coming back all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm just going to disappear and I'm never coming back, So
is that move imminent then? Is that
summer? Yeah, this summer. So because my son's enrolled to an international school over there, so we have to be there by September. Yeah.
And you can still run the business. Obviously, you're like fully remote.
I've made sure because I've always said I need to work from home because I need to be able to be a mum. Although. It has taken over and kind of overlapped into other areas of my life, which, I think is normal for most business owners. But I'm hoping now.
No more dancing and
I know I've not danced in years.
What kind of dancing do you do?
Latin dancing, salsa, bachata, and mostly bachata. But I haven't danced in 4 years because there was COVID, of course.
Yeah.
And nobody was allowed to
Was that just for a hobby, or was it?
Yeah, but I loved it. If I could have any job, it would be dancing. Like if you know, I wouldn't even care about the money because I'd be happy, you know, and you get to travel. But, you know, lots of people are dancers. So, and I just ended up on a different road because I grew up thinking I need an education, I need a university degree, blah, blah, blah. And it's probably restricted me more than anything, I would say. Not that I'm against education.
How would you pass that on your kids?
I want for my kids, but I want them to also choose. But if I have a say, I want them to get their education, but I don't want them to be stuck in that. So
you're going to force them down the same route?
No. As long as he's got a brain on his head, you know, because not everyone. No. I want him to get something behind him,
right?
But he can do what he wants. If he wants to go and be a footballer, and you know, whatever they want to do, I want them to do it. You know, but I want them to get. Whether that's even like a trade, I don't care what it is, but get some sort of qualification to back you. Because one thing my dad said to me is money can disappear tomorrow, but your education will always stay with you. So you will always have a backup, you know? And that's true. Like somebody could come in and steal all your money.
I know you're kind of like...
You know, so you have a backup. But I also see the other point of view because I've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I see both sides. I just liked what you said about, like, I seen your eyes light up when you're talking about dancing and having another job. I love dancing.
And me and my wife always have this debate as well, and we're both not going to really encourage her to go to university. It's fine, but I almost want her to, like, find her passion, find her love and go.
Totally.
I'm going with it. And I think but I think it ties back to probably what you're saying about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you can educate your children on financial education, it doesn't matter what they're doing. If they make £1,000 a month, if they have the right money rules, they're going to be financially successful. Or even like an entrepreneurial spirit to say, oh, I'm going to be a dancer because I love it, but I'm also going to run an online school teaching people how to do it.
Not everybody has that gift though, like to have that brain and run businesses and be entrepreneurs, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's good to just have a plan B, even if it's like but this is the thing. I would love to be I would absolutely love that, but then I probably wouldn't have the financial freedom as property will one day give me, you know. It's not happened yet, but it's on the way.
It's en route.
But yeah, I see both sides. You know, I'm not gonna, if they really don't want to go to uni or something, then fine, you know, but that's what I would like for them. To me, it's only a few years for the rest of your life, but you know. But then I also see it as I wish I did dancing too. But then I don't know what my life would have been like. Maybe I would never have gotten to property, you know. I don't know.
Right,
I really don't know. Anyway,
you're talking about that financial freedom as well from property. Do you feel having the bookkeeping and the other business as well is helping you support both by or they kind of work hand in hand? Because I feel like I wish I'd clicked and
property's not liquid for me yet.
Yeah, we've all got a business that complements property in a way, shape or form, and I feel like I wish I'd picked up on that sooner.
I want more time for the property. I just haven't had it yet, and I think once things have settled with the bookkeeping, because for me there's always something to improve and do, then I'd like to focus more on my kids for a while, and then kind of really push the property. That's my next goal, and I need to get it on social media first, I think, because it's like it's been a few years now, still not done it.
So we're holding you accountable from this podcast publicly. Natalia's going to start posting our property journeys on
gosh, they're going to be such terrible pictures.
So you can backdate it.
Page.
I know. You can find all my other pages from that page. Yeah.
Honestly, I'd love the chat, and I'm sure the listeners will get huge value from it.
If people want bookkeeping, take it. Are you still taking on new clients?
Absolutely, always. Yeah.
Where's the easiest and best place?
beyondbookkeeping.app or at Beyond Bookkeeping UK, I think it is. Or find it through my page because I've got them all tagged there. So
we'll link them in the show notes.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming down.
No, thanks
for making a trip down to Aberdeen. And
you've made my life sound so much more interesting than it is. But
I would love the chat. A lot of people will resonate with it as well. So we appreciate your time. Thank you.
So. No, thank you.